Okay, when I buy things from, you know, plumbers, electricians, homeowners, they're downsizing, I never have time to look at it, examine it, to see if it's perfect, to see what kind of name is on it. It's dirty usually when it comes in. We dust it off briefly, but put it on the floor. So when my customers come in, they're either looking for a specific that I don't even know I have, and when they find it, I turn it over and I discover, you know, what this is. And so they're all excited because they found, you know, they find a lot of treasures over here that we don't track it down or try to research it. We just buy it, put it on the floor, and sell it.
Right, so people come in here and find some real treasures at
they do
real
all the
excellent
time.
discounted
They do
rate.
all the time, and they don't want to let on
right.
until I go to look at it.
And then when you have time to really think about it, you realize, oh my God, I saw.
Oh yeah, and they'll call me up or they'll say, Jan, you know what I found in your store? Do you know this? Do you know that? Do you know how old this piece is? And I'm saying to myself, yeah, well, they just got a real deal, you know. But that's the plus of this store, because it's bought and sold as is.
Right.
And
with such a volume of things, it's
right.
so hard to keep, you know, to keep an accounting of everything that comes in. You're just trying to
mentally,
you know,
I have an accounting.
Right.
Mentally, I know what's here because I put it, I bought it, I sold it, I placed it.
Right.
But they'll ask me for specific,
all the details you
but
can't.
But when they ask me for a name,
yeah,
you know, is this a Wedgwood, or is this some famous name on a piece of furniture? I'll just point out where the furniture is and when it came in and how old that I think it is.
Right.
But I'm not an appraiser.
Right.
You know, and I'm not an authority on it. It's just I buy for shape, and I buy for color, and I buy for the age.
Right.
And they find all kinds of things.
Right.
Which is a plus for the customer.
Right. But you're not a computer. You can't keep an accounting of all of that
God,
forever
no.
and ever.
You know,
right.
everything has a number, right? You know, you go nuts, you know, keeping
exactly.
it. I know what's here. I know where it's at. We try to batch it together. It makes it easier.
Right.
So when I do inventory, it's not that difficult for me.
Right.
You know, if I hire 5 people to do inventory, it would take months.
A nightmare, yeah.
Yeah. When I do inventory, it takes, at the most, a couple weeks. Because I know where it's at.
So, Jan, what are some really interesting pieces that have some interesting stories behind them? Can you think of anything right offhand?
Well, it was a Tiffany window that I thought was Tiffany window. That was a great story.
Mm-hmm.
It came in from a church that was all in all kinds of pieces.
Yeah.
It was really all broken up. And I had it for like, I don't know, 10 years. I had it laying flat on a table with the pieces in a box, etc. So one day I decided to take it and get it restored. So the restorer calls me and says, you know what I think? I think this is a Tiffany window. I says, really? Here again, I'm not looking for the signatures. Exactly. I'm not looking for any identification. I like the shape of things.
Right.
So,
and you know it's old.
Yeah, and I know it's very old. I know the glass was extremely old. I know it was large. I know that it was out of a demolition of a church. It came in 1,000,001 pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't even know if I had all the pieces, which I didn't care. So he restored it. It took him about a month to restore this beautiful piece. And he said, I'm pretty sure this is Tiffany.
Wow.
So I did 3 months or 4 months of research. First of all, when you go to, I don't want to name names, but when you try to find authenticity, you go to people that do appraisals.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them, well, it's so old that we really can't appraise it.
Mm.
We can't research it back that far. Mm-hmm. We really don't know if this is a Tiffany.
Oh, please.
A million stories, you know. So then people flew in from New York.
Mm.
And they said, wow, this is a great piece.
Wow.
We think it's Tiffany. So I had like about 7 or 8 that I thought were top-notch people in the business. They said the same thing, but there's no signature. Mm-hmm. So we can't authenticate.
Right.
We can't authenticate this.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So bottom line, over a period of time, which I never tried to sell it, I just held on to it forever. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, I don't know. So I was going to send it to an auction house, which I said, no, I like it so much, I'm going to keep it.
Right.
So word got out that maybe I had a Tiffany over here. So the place was flooded with dealers. You going to sell this? You want to sell this? You know, and giving you ridiculous. I said, it's not for sale. Well, it drove them crazy.
Right.
So I said, you know, the heck with it. I'll just keep it. It's not authenticated. It's not a Tiffany. It's just I like it.
Right.
But it could have been.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, things that come in, if they don't have their signature, if they don't have a date, it's hard to authenticate things.
Right, right. And you get a lot of really nice things that aren't always
oh, well, yeah, you get things that are not
verifiable.
name brand, and
Right.
things that come in are not perfect, but I try to buy more perfect than
Exactly,
possible. But
right.
some dealers must have it perfect.
Exactly, right.
Or if you send it on eBay or whatever, you want to identify it as being perfect. Well, many
Exactly.
pieces are not.
You're right.
And then an interesting story about a woman who taught me a great lesson. And it makes me cry every time I think about it. She came in one day and she said, "Do you have any architectural stone? Do you have any limestone? Do you have anything that is an animal?" I said, "Sure." So I took her over there, and she said, "I want a specific thing. I want like a deer that's not perfect. I want a dog that's not perfect. I want any kind of an animal that is not perfect." And I just looked at her and said, "This is really strange because people want everything perfect." No, no, no. She says, "I have 3 small children. They have this little outhouse. They have this little, their little house out in the woods. There's a creek running down there."
Wow.
And she says, "I'm trying to teach them a lesson. I want these animals around that area and try to teach them that in life nothing is perfect."
Oh, lovely, yeah.
And so she wanted stone that was, missing an ear, part of the leg was gone.
Right.
And she said, "I wanted to teach them a lesson."
Right.
And she says, "That's how I bring my kids up." I
Right.
said, "Wow, what a great story."
Imperfection is character in my book.
Right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So from that time on, it didn't bother me.
Right.
When you buy something that's not just perfect.
Great story, Jan. And when you're dealing with antiques and vintage, if you're expecting perfection, you might as well go someplace else.
Oh, yeah, you know what I tell them?
It doesn't make any sense.
Well, they'll give me a hard time. Well, it's got a little line here, it's got a slight crack, it's got a little chip. I said, "Wait a minute. If you married somebody that was 80 years old or 100 years old, would they be perfect?"
Right.
And it just stops them in their tracks
Right.
because it's true. And sometimes they like things that
Right.
are not perfect. I'm not pushing it.
Right. A nice leather bag that has a great patina on it, or
Exactly.
that adds to the beauty of it.
And you remember when patina was not even heard of.
Exactly.
Right. So they like that. Like if you were to restore a floor in a 100-year-old house, the floor is not perfect. And years ago, they wanted it perfect. Now they don't, because it shows how old it really
Right.
is. If the floor creaks and groans, this is wonderful.
Right.
They like that. So.
Jan, those are great stories. Can you show us around a little bit?
Sure. Okay.
We'll just follow you.
All right, let's see what we're going to look at here. Well, I know there's a Civil War parlor set back here that's been here for quite a while.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And because the warehouse is so full that you can't show everything, the way it's in a room setting.
Right. You have to come back. I mean, every time my mom comes here to Chicago, I want to go to Jan's.
I have that a lot.
Yeah.
That's great. This is a great piece that just came in from a demolition. Look at this nice piece.
Oh, that's really
But
nice.
it's perfect. I mean, it's perfect with the material is all intact.
Yeah.
But as far as paint or chips
Now,
or
what is
anything,
this exactly?
This is fretwork that could have been in between 2 columns, possibly, going between a living room and a dining room.
And from what era did you say it is?
Oh, this is probably about 1890.
Wow.
Up to 1910. It's probably more like 1890.
Yeah.
And it's Victorian. But it has all the detail. You see it comes in and it's...
Look at all this stone. I mean,
yeah.
it's just...
Stone is
you
the
have a
big
huge
thing that
collection.
I like.
Yeah. Do you have lots of customers coming in for this type
Yeah,
of...
right now at this particular time.
You're doing restoration work and everything?
That
Or
I
just...
have,
yeah.
Yeah, the customers that come in. I just had one leave from Wicker Park that's restoring a house over 100. He's been there like 6 months. He'll be there another 6 months because the house is back in 1880. And they're restoring it back to what it should be. And that is my customer right there.
Right.
When you get into any of these things that I buy, trim work and headers and columns, it's for people that are restoring.
Yeah.
Or maybe they use it for props for a movie.
Right.
But this piece just happened to be in good shape.
Yeah.
But stonework I buy for detail. I love detail. I don't care if it's chipped on the corner. I don't care.
Right. If the details are still discernible, then you want it.
The what?
If the details are still discernible.
Oh, yeah, because a lot of this is a Sullivan look. Some pieces are Sullivan, some are Sullivan Nest, which is a
right.
reproduction.
Right.
But it has the look of Sullivan.
who was a great architect here in Chicago.
Oh yeah, well the Carson Perry Scott building,
Exactly.
you know, did all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I like stone with detail.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what kind it is. It just, I don't know, it fascinates you because you can't reproduce that.
Exactly.
Today. That's the thing. Ones with faces on, you know, that's interesting.
And wasn't a lot of that stonework hand done?
Yeah, a lot of it was done by hand. You know, this is not machine processed.
Right.
You know,
It's too old for